Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome. I'm Meg of megburtontudman.com, and I am so happy to be here with my incredibly talented friend, Andrea Holland. Andrea runs an amazing communications coaching business, and she is outstanding in her field. I think that both personally and professionally, but I'm so happy to have her on today. So Andrea, thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to see where this conversation goes.
I know. Me too, Meg. Like, we have the best conversations.
We do. I often wish I could record.
I know. Well, now we are. We are.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to the intro? Did I miss anything about how awesome you are?
You're so sweet. No, I think you hit it nail on the head. And I think that the work that I do really is about helping people find their voice. You know, my call to action is always dare to find your voice.
Oh, I love that.
And isn't it fun?
Yes.
It's, for me, it's born of understanding what it's like to be in your business, in life, and struggling to understand who you are and what impact you want to have with what influence you want to have with your voice and how to use it in a compelling way.
Yes. Oh, so much yes to everything. And I think too, there's such a natural connection between finding your voice and being able to tell your, let's call it, story in whatever, platform and whatever way that is appropriate for you. But there's such a strong correlation between that and feeling confident in your own skin, right? Because if there's a disconnect and you're not able to express yourself, there's no way that you can feel confident on the inside, never mind what's happening on the outside.
Absolutely. And I think an audience, any audience, whether it's one-on-one or if you're in a larger group, any audience can feel when you are either holding back or not giving them your all. You know? And I think that authenticity is one of the key criteria for being a compelling communicator, whether that's public speaking or doing media interviews or talking one-on-one or a sales conversation.
Right.
I think that's, the confidence piece is where I hear people most of the time come to me say, I don't feel confident when I'm, out there talking about my business or I'm telling my story. And that really comes from one, practice and experience doing it. I really just got to do it and get some egg on your face and try it out. See what works and what doesn't. And then also staying true and being a little vulnerable, being a little vulnerable and willing to share what you might not be used to sharing.
Yes. Yeah. What do you think, or what do you tell your clients, or maybe even what have you used yourself to make that vulnerability okay? I'm not going to say comfortable, because I think there is an inherent uncomfortable nature about being vulnerable, but what can we do to help, I guess, facilitate that vulnerability, right? And allow ourselves to still be authentic.
Well, I think there's a couple things. One of the first things I tell my clients to do when I start working with them is to get uncomfortable for greater gain. So that means that if, for example, you're going to get on a stage and give a talk, or get on camera and do videos for your business, right? Here's a classic example. The first time you tell a story or see yourself, what you look like, or share something about yourself, don't make the first time you do that the first time you're in front of that audience. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like wearing, the ridiculous high heels, like the 4-inch heels. You don't wear those to a gala for the first time ever.
No, you practice around the house.
You're going to practice around that house. Yes, you are. Because otherwise, it's going to get real ugly real quick, right? And I'm comfortable, right? Have you ever been at I was at an airport recently, and I saw this woman walking. I mean, she was like, could barely make it to her gate because the heels were so uncomfortable. And that's basically what sharing being open and a little bit vulnerable is like. If you're trying to do it for the first time in front of an important audience, it's going to be so uncomfortable you're barely going to make it.
Right.
So I ask my clients to not only get uncomfortable in the communication piece of it, sharing their story or sharing who they are, but also in other ways in their life. So where else are you challenging yourself? Do you need to run a 5K? Do you need to, change your wardrobe or try a new project at work? Do you need to start telling your story to more people in a casual way so that the language and the feeling of it isn't so unfamiliar?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big part of it. And I think the other piece of it is to remember that everyone is everyone. So you have a story, I have a story, strangers in the street have a story. Everyone has a story if you give them enough space to tell it.
Right.
And if you give yourself enough space to tell it and practice it, you'll recognize very quickly with an audience that if you're telling it in the right way, they will connect with you almost instantly because we all share something in common.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
So if we can find that unique chord that we're all connected on, then there's no end to what you can share.
Do you think, I love that so much. Do you think that has less to do with your topic and what you're actually saying and more to do with the fact that the audience can, as you said, pick up when you really are authentic, when you really are kind of putting yourself out there in a real way, that it almost doesn't matter the topic. We have this ability to connect with people who seemingly we have nothing in common with.
Right.
If they are being real.
Yeah. I mean, your topic could be about, purple rhinos that play the cymbal. I mean, it doesn't.
My favorite.
It doesn't matter as long as you're being honest and real. And a lot of that is in the language that we use.
Yeah.
I find that I was guilty of this in my business when I first started. So, and I'm actually giving a talk on this coming up about stop speaking brochure.
Yeah.
People get up in front of an audience and they start talking brochure. They use words that you would see printed in like a pamphlet somewhere,
right,
or you could read on a website.
Yes.
And it's not about sounding right. It's about connecting with your audience. It's always about the people in the room that you're connecting with. So it has nothing to do with how smart you are. Nobody cares. I read a great quote that said, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Oh, yes.
Right?
That too. So true.
Yeah. It's not about sounding smart or being the smartest person in the room. It's not fully about, looking great on stage or being this, just brilliant megalomaniac in front of a room. It's about finding where you are as an audience member. Mm-hmm. And where I need to get to in order for us to speak the same language. And if we can do that, now I could read you, the most boring book on stage. And as long as I'm connecting with you, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
It's wild, isn't it? We think that we're so different, but really all it takes is a chord to connect.
Well, and that's it. And I think that's what makes people even more nervous is if you've ever gotten in front of an audience, and this is why people get nervous on camera, we're not getting live feedback when we're on camera. We're usually talking, at a thing. We're like, blah, blah, blah. I'm so smart. Look at me. La, la, la. But when you're in front of an audience, have you ever seen anyone speak? And clearly the audience is giving them cues of like, not interested. Yeah, we're looking at our phone. We're counting the ceiling tiles. We're imagining our grocery list in our mind.
Yeah,
we're not connecting with you. And if you're not seeing that from your audience, then you've got to go deeper. I'm actually part of a women's comedy troupe, so this is a very interesting thing. A sketch comedy, so we write sketch comedy and we perform it. And whenever I walk out onto stage, I always laugh because there's always one person in the audience who just doesn't want to laugh. And I'm like, why did you come to a comedy show if you don't want to laugh?
Right.
I will make it my life's mission in that moment to make that person laugh. You're going to laugh. You came to this, you're going to laugh.
Right.
One way or the other. And it's the same thing when we're speaking to somebody. And you could even take it to the level of, imagine you're talking to a friend who's struggling with something and they're not quite coming around to saying what's really bothering them, or they're not calming down. The question becomes, what chord do you need to find with them so that they can open up
Mm-hmm.
and feel as though it's a safe space to share with you.
Right.
And most importantly, that they can openly speak and come around to their own conclusion. And all you did was support them and listen.
Right. You held the space for them.
That's it. You held
Yeah.
the space. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aside from holding the space, what else can we do to help find those chords to connect?
I think the first and the most important thing is to ask questions. I think oftentimes, especially for entrepreneurs, and I do a lot of work with higher level executives,
Right.
Too. But I think in the entrepreneurial space, it's very interesting that we sort of get into this space of, I need to have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be knowledgeable and intelligent and polished and perfect. And it all needs to, I need to sound as though I have the answer to everything.
Right.
And in that process, we tend to not ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Because asking a question is sometimes a form of vulnerability.
Totally.
You know, it's saying, I need more information, or I don't have the answer. That's how we tend to view questions.
Yeah.
The truth is that if you're in a conversation with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and all you're doing is asking questions, the workload is off you.
So easy.
I mean, all you're doing is getting answers, you know?
Yeah.
That's it. You're basically interviewing them and asking them to talk about themselves, asking them to give information. And then when you find that chord, that's when you join in the conversation and go, I feel the same way.
Right.
Or let me offer this information if it's helpful to you.
Right.
Here's something that might help you.
Mm-hmm.
And in the other sense, you know, if you're speaking on a stage, for example, no one expects you to go up there and just ask a whole bunch of questions. That's not the format for that.
Right.
But ask the questions ahead of time.
Mm.
You get on a stage. Who's in the room? What do they need to know from you?
Right.
What call to action can you make?
Yeah.
How can you not leave that stage without making their day better? How can you make them leave that 5, 10, 30, 40 minutes with you and say, this was the most amazing use of my time today? I would not want it to have been anywhere else but here, because this was so impactful. And it's not about you talking at them. It's about you asking the right questions, being a little vulnerable and open to it, and saying, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
I think questions is a big part of opening up that space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think too, you know, there is a vulnerability piece, yes, of course, to asking questions. I think a way to reframe that though and flip it is the curiosity piece. Yeah. Like how cool to be able to learn something that, you know, walking into that situation, maybe you had no idea that person even knew anything about, but ask those, you know, open-ended, high mileage questions, and all of a sudden, like, you know, there's a whole new connection that you never even fathomed.
Yeah. I mean, I've been at parties, I've been at business meetings, I've been in the middle of the most unlikely situations where you think someone's going to open up, and then they start going, and this is me. I'm like, tell me more.
Yeah.
Because there it is. Right. They found that moment of openness to say, I'm going to talk.
Right.
All you got to do is listen.
Right.
I was done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, and then also if someone is willing to share with you, that is your almost unspoken permission to share with them.
Yes.
You know, because
back and forth.
Especially in sales conversations, people jump in and it's like, it reminds me of the old cartoons when we were kids of like Bugs Bunny or whatever was popular, you know, where the little sales guy would shuffle in the room, speak a whole bunch of stuff, close up his briefcase and shuffle out of the room. And you were like, what did I just sign in agreement? You know, it's the same thing. We get into conversations and we start up with our, you know, blah, 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 blah. We have not accomplished anything. All we've done is spoken at someone for a good 5-6 minutes and blown up their day.
Right.
Pretty much.
Well, that power, I think, of stepping outside of yourself and, you know, getting into the shoes of the person you're chatting with or your audience and, you know, just tuning in a little bit, maybe a lot, depending on, you know, where you are with things. But getting a feel for how can they leave this space and say, that was the best use of my time. I loved,
It reminds me, a few years back, I was in Laguna Niguel, California. Mm. And it was my first time being there. And I was at this conference where, the be-alls of be-alls were there, honey. Okay. I had a stash of business cards in my pocket, just burning a hole. I was like, oh my God, there's a guy from Amazon and there's a guy from, this company and that, all these companies. And so I'm standing there, like we're outside, it's beautiful California, and I've got my, my glass of white wine, and I'm trying to act all fancy, I'm like, oh yes. And I'm standing in this circle of 4 businessmen and myself. And everyone's just shooting back and forth. And literally I'm like ready. I'm hot and ready with my card. I'm like, I'm going to hand it to you. And one of the guys says, have you ever seen the sunset out of nowhere? I'm in the middle of this business conversation. He said, have you ever seen the sunset over the Pacific? And I'm like, no, bro, nobody cares. I want to hand out my card, right?
I got an agenda here.
I know. I got something I want to do. And he said, it's about to set. Let's just watch. And it was one of those pivotal moments in a business conversation that I will never forget, because the sun dropped and it did one of those little starbursts when it hit the waterline, the thing they talk about in movies, and you're like, oh, I've never seen that. And in my mind, I'm like, Andrea, this is the moment. This is happening.
Right. Seal this in.
It was piercing silence in that circle. We all just watched it. And then as it set, the guy turned around and he goes, now that's something incredible, isn't it? And I was like, oh my God, yes, it was. Why am I so insistent upon handing out my business card? Let me have a conversation with these guys. Let me not talk at them. Let me ask them what's important to them, because they just froze for a good 2 minutes to watch that sunset. That's what's more important to them right now, not what I can sell them.
Right.
So it's that mindfulness. It's that moment where you kind of realize, oh, there's something larger at hand here than what I have to say. Yeah.
And I think then those shared experiences, right? Like being able to draw on that. Now, every time you see somebody in that group, that's an instant connection. Yeah. Oh my gosh, remember that amazing sunset? I felt like we were in the movies. And then all of a sudden, any barrier, anything that, people have walked into the space with or into the conversation with kind of just like trickles and dissolves. And it's like, oh yeah.
And I think that's true, even in your line of work, it's really about having that mindfulness. You have to be aware of the energy that you bring into a space and the impact that you have on others.
Yes.
As well as the dialogue in your own mind.
So powerful.
Right? What impact that has on you, because it's so easy to walk into a conversation with someone and just be dwelling on what's wrong, what's not working, what's got you stressed.
Right.
And suddenly you can, imagine if that man had said, instead of saying, have you ever seen the sunset over the Pacific? Imagine if he had said, have you ever seen photos of homelessness in, a third world country? That would have put a damper on the situation real quick.
Totally different energy.
I would have been like, no, I haven't, and I don't want to right now.
Right.
But we do that in a way. We walk into conversations or situations in life, and we're thinking about the negative things in that moment, and we're not bringing our most open-minded, positive self.
Yes. Oh, you're speaking my language. Yeah. What is your tool or strategy or even trick? Because sometimes I think it is a game we have to play with ourselves. What's your trick to get out of that negativity and stay in the positive space?
So my trick is always, and I really work at this with my clients, is to ask myself, what do I want? What do I really want? Yeah. And that has a couple different approaches to it. So what am I physically looking for in this conversation? Am I looking for a nod of approval? Am I seeking a smile from the other person? It could be as simple as that, And what will be the visual or verbal cue for me to know what I'm looking for has actually arrived?
Right.
Because sometimes we'll just keep stumbling over our words and continuing to talk because we haven't taken note of what it is that we're actually looking for.
Right.
It's
lost the mindfulness.
Yeah, it's shown up, but we're just like trying to hand out that business card still. You know, we're not focused on what is it that we're looking for. What is the cue that will tell us we've achieved our goal? Right. And then backpedaling a little bit before that, it's what do I want to feel? You know, do I want to feel, and a lot of times you can use it in terms of thinking of an object or something that will, or a mantra that will give you the focus that you're looking for.
Right.
I always have what I call my 3 words, and I encourage everyone to think this through.
Yeah.
If you could have the most amazing interaction with someone, whether you're on stage and you're talking to an audience, or you're a sales conversation, or a conversation with your mom or a loved one.
Right.
If you could have that conversation and leave the room and hear 3 words, attributes said about you, what would you want them to be? Mm-hmm. And if you can think of those 3 words prior to engaging in a dialogue, that gives you something to strive for.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's always a descriptor of who you want to be in that moment. And in the absence of those 3 words or 1 word, whatever it is for you, we can flounder. We can just sort of go in and say, oh, I'll just go in and see what happens. But if I know that walking into a conversation, I need to be fun, knowledgeable, and real, those are my 3 words, always fun, knowledgeable, and real for the most part.
I was going to ask, so they don't change.
Yeah, they can change. They can change. If I'm talking to a friend, I was having a conversation with a friend the other day who was really struggling emotionally. I'm not trying to be fun, knowledgeable, and real, you know? Like, hey, let's just ignore your problem. But real resonates.
Right.
I'm just going to be real with you. You know, I'm not going to sit here and judge you. I'm not going to sit here and give you my best opinion and I'm just going to listen, and I'm going to be real and say, here's where I've struggled with this.
Right.
Or here's where my challenge is. Mm-hmm. Knowledgeable is relevant in the sense of if they ask for guidance, I will share what I know. But it might just be caring, knowledgeable, and real in that situation.
Right.
Words change, identities change because we change.
Sure.
We're constantly in a state of shift. But for the most part, I walk into any situation, and if I'm not having fun, I'm out.
Yeah.
And you're not getting the benefit of it.
No.
And if
we're not getting you, right?
Yeah, you're not getting me. Like, I love to laugh. That's what I do. You know, I can be very heartfelt and soulful, and you don't want to see me cry in public because it's a train wreck. But I'm an ugly crier, Meg. I'm an ugly crier.
I find that hard to believe.
Oh, God. But, you know, I need to have those 3 words. So I ask everybody, what are your 3 words? That's one of the first things I work on with my clients is,
right.
What are your 3 words?
I love that.
And focus on that.
Right.
Keep that ahead of you, and then know what you're looking for from the other person. Then you're golden.
Right.
Then you can plan your entire conversation.
Oh, that's so powerful. Just to ground yourself with those 3 words, that your energy is going to say that before you even open your mouth, probably before you even enter the space. But that sets you up. I mean, you're golden at that point, I would think.
It is. You know, and the other way to do it is to think of an object. So I have a friend who, she's so funny. Did you see my reaction just now when I thought about it, when I thought of my friend? I was like, got all giddy. I have a friend who, we have a joke. She says that we were traveling together and we went to this one restaurant and they had a cotton candy martini. Okay. Which is like, I would never order that. You know, I would never go like, hey, bartender, I want a cotton candy martini. But the way we set this thing up, I mean, it was just like a big bowl of cotton candy deliciousness, and they poured the martini over it. It all melted. And I was like so excited to taste this martini. And she goes, the way you light up when they serve that martini to you, you need to be that way when you approach, and we were headed for an upcoming situation that I was nervous about.
Right.
I just want you to walk into that room and think of the cotton candy martini and just be that.
Right.
So it could be 3 words. It could be a sentence or a mantra. It could be an item, an object. You know, I think of a cotton candy martini and I start getting giddy.
Your whole face changes.
I know. It's really weird. But, you know, think of someone that you admire or something that brings you joy. Put yourself in your garden or in your favorite park and just flow into that. And it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah. It's amazing, those little, seemingly little shifts that can have the biggest impact on the outcome of whatever you're walking into.
So I want to ask you, and I'm putting you on the spot, and if you don't have an answer, you don't have to, but do you know what one or some of your words might be?
Yeah, the real or authentic totally resonates with me.
Yeah.
Honest, but I may be able to incorporate that with those two. Let me think of one more. I'm gonna have to get back to you on the third, but definitely that authentic, that true piece for sure. I love, and I mean, it comes through in my work, but I think even outside of work too, that, you know, having left a space and having someone feel like safer or more nurtured after the fact, I think is so helpful. I think a lot of us are starved for connection. That's why I was so excited to talk to you today. But, you know, we're starved for that cord, right, is missing from a lot of interaction. And so if there's a way that I can help somebody feel that.
And you know, and it might even, if it's not necessarily a word, it might be sort of an idea, like, you know, hold the space. It could be that, you know, you're excellent at that. That's one thing that you do, is you don't, your nature, the way you are, you don't walk into a room and just take up all the air in the space.
Yes. No, that's not me.
No, right? I know. And so around, you know, you leave that space for people, and that might be one of your words, because I think one of the biggest gifts we can give to other people is not to tell them something.
No.
It's just to let them know in some way, even if you say it, just 3 simple words. I hear you.
Yes. You matter.
That's it. That's what it means, is you matter.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's interpreted as.
Right.
So if you can walk into a space and let someone know that they're heard by actively listening, not speaking as much, being patient, smiling at them, giving them nonverbal feedback that you're there and you're present. Yeah. It is one of the biggest gifts you can give anybody, because you just said it. We are in many ways starved for that personal attention. Right. We get caught up in work, our devices, schedules, busy. Yeah. Just have the moment with someone where they say, I hear you. Right. You matter.
Right. Right. It's like a weight has been lifted off of you. When someone does that.
It really is. And it's just, even if we have that once a day, like, what a gift.
I was just going to say, such a gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so powerful. I love that so much. Let's talk more about the work that you do. What do you think, what's the biggest struggle that your clients are experiencing or dealing with? I think challenge.
Yeah.
Or if it were me coaching someone, I would say, what's the biggest opportunity here?
Yeah, right. I know. Well, and I think you bring up a good point, is that a lot of times we focus on what's not possible, or what the challenge is versus where we want to go. Yeah. And one of the best compliments and thoughts that I ever received from one of my clients was, he said to me, I'm not hiring you for where I am. Yes. I'm hiring you for where I'm going to go. Yeah. And I remember when he said that, I thought, wow, that roll deep, buddy. Okay. Like, that's nice, because you know where you're headed. And I think one of the common challenges I find is that most people come to me when they are in a new-ish situation. Mm-hmm. Maybe they just started being successful in their business, and there's this new wave of conversations and communication that's happening. Maybe they're working in a new role or a new project. They're somehow in a state of change or shift, and they become keenly aware of the fact, right? Like, okay, wait, I'm walking down a new road here, and I don't know who I need to be in this moment. And how am I conveying with the world what it is that I want them to know? So, what are those words that I need them to say? What are the outcomes that I'm looking for? And it's that sense of insecurity that they feel, that they say, I feel like I need to develop a whole new language, a whole new way of being. So that's, and that comes from, I think, having some understanding of where you are, not a full vision of where you want to be.
Okay.
And combining that with actual technique. So a lot of people will come to me and say, I want to learn how to give an amazing talk, right? And I'm like, okay, so let's start with your mindset. Let's start with, where your head is at. And they're like, no.
No, I just want to learn how to talk.
Yeah. They're like, let's just put me on a stage and show me what to say and tell me where to put my hands, and I'm like, okay, well, that's just a small portion of it. We get to that actually at the end. First, we start with, who the heck are you and why does anybody want to listen to you?
Yeah.
And again, it's not about brochure speak. It's about understanding who are you and what can you give others.
Yeah.
Because I think a large part of the process that I find with my clients and the people that I work with and people I love working with is finding their gifts and their talents along the way.
Right.
Because a lot of times we have so many capabilities, and we just don't see it.
Right.
Because we've just never talked about them before. We've never told stories. We've never looked at it from the perspective of, gee, I didn't realize I offer that to people. Maybe you're the kind of person who naturally holds the space and you're not even aware of it.
Right.
How do you leverage that to your advantage?
Those things that we're so naturally good at, where it seems like, oh, that's even a thing to be good at. It comes so easily. I don't even think about it.
Right.
Those are the things. Yeah.
I have a lot of folks who are introverted and they'll say, well, I don't, I'm not bringing anything to the conversation. I'm just kind of sitting there, not saying anything. And I ask them, so what value does that bring to the room? You're not hogging up the space. You're obviously listening. So where is the opportune moment to leverage your quietness to be heard?
Right.
Where is that? And let's find that and let's practice it. But I think we all want to be heard. And we all want to have a degree of influence in our lives to show others that we can be relevant, we can be important, and we deserve to be heard. Everyone deserves to be heard.
Yes.
We really do.
Yep.
So I find that that's, the confidence piece with the vulnerability and wanting to rush into technique, but realizing, wait, I've got to take a step back. And a lot of the work that I do with folks is, I think this is true in your work too, Meg, that we just don't take the time to think these things through.
Right.
It's progress and growth and success and all of that can happen, but you have to be willing to put some thought into it. You have to be willing to stop and think and say, okay, let's look at this from a different perspective, because when we're just go, we don't give ourselves the time to stop and go, well, who am I? And what impact am I actually having? And is that what I really want? Is that intentional? Or am I just doing what someone told me to do?
Right. Do you find that, because I find this with my clients, and I'm curious if it works from a communication standpoint too, when you put the work in up front around mindset, around, your 3 words, around your why, around your how do you want to feel, all of that, do you find that in this case, the technique piece, almost, obviously there's some work and some practice there, but almost falls into place more naturally?
Absolutely. 100%.
I find that too.
It's, I guess the way that I could liken it is, so a few years ago, I started getting into cycling, right? And I remember somebody said, well, my friend brought me a bike and he goes, well, just get on it. Just start pedaling. That old adage of, it's like riding a bike. You never, they're lying. You're totally lying. I mean, Meg, I couldn't make it down the street. I fell like 3 times trying to ride down the street. I said, I'm a grown woman and I'm falling on a bicycle. Oh, how embarrassing, you know? But it's similar to, so now, you know, as a cyclist, I recognize that in order to be in shape for cycling season, I have to do the squats, you know, all winter long so that my legs are strong. I have to have my core in balance, because when you're balancing on a bike, you know, you can't slouch over this thing. You gotta sit upright. I need to, and it sounds crazy, but I need to, you know, make sure my helmet's prepared and the tires are pumped up, and I've got my little music list that I can listen to in one ear, and that I have my water bottle little holder thing all set up. I don't just get on the bike come, you know, May 1st. I'm actually intentional in the process of going forward. So the mindset, and I look forward to that day. I look forward to first day of bike season. I'm like giddy like a, you know, kid. It's the same thing with anything in life. If you're walking into a meeting, or you're deciding you want to lose 10 pounds, or you want to make a major shift in your life, you got to plan. You have to plan, and you have to put your mind in the right frame to say, this is what I really want. Right. And I know what it will feel like, and I know what it will sound like, and I know that I want to leave this impression, or I want to do this one thing, you know, and I will not stop until I hit that target. Right. When you have that in front of you, the technique does fall into line a bit easier. You still need practice. And you know, I learned that, you know, the first time I was bike riding, I'm like, I'm pedaling all wrong. How do you pedal a bike wrong? I did. There's technique. I was pedaling wrong. I didn't know it, you know. So I had to get that technique down. But it does. It falls into line. Just as with anything in life, there's layers to everything. And if you can, you know, take your time and be intentional and focused and layered in your approach, then you reach where you want to be that much more easily. Yeah, I was just going to say, it's not as if the work is easier, but I think it does feel a little bit easier when you have taken that time up front to identify, all right, I see the end, and there's a distinct reason that I'm, you know, doing this. Right. And, you know, back to the 3 words, if you're walking into a situation and you know your 3 words, for me, fun, knowledgeable, and real. If I walk into a room and I'm not having fun, I know energetically, mindset-wise, I'm off. Right. Something's off. Right. So I need to adjust my tone or adjust my approach. I was giving a presentation last year. I thought it was going to be like super easy. Walk into a room. They said, give a presentation to our sales team. I said, great. I thought I was going to be in a room. They said I was going to be in a room with, like, you know, a mic and a this and a that, and people would be sitting in chairs. Just kidding. Oh my God. I walk into this conversation and it's an open floor plan for the sales team along with their, phone people. I can't think of the word, call center. Right. People in one half of the room on the phones, and then these other people sitting in chairs in like an open floor plan. And here I am standing here in a business suit, looking like an animal cracker, like no, you know, and I'm like, fun, knowledgeable. Boss ladies here now. So here we go, right? So I walked in there and, you know, fun, knowledgeable, real came back. But in that moment, I had to shift my approach because I had to get their attention fast. Right. You know, I had to really jump in there and say, I'm going to take this jacket. Well, we're going to rumble. I'm going to take this jacket off. Let's go. And, you know, and it shifted and it worked. But again, it's being mindful in the approach. Right. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. Yeah, it makes it easier. It does, for sure. What is your, let's say, number one, if you could leave our kind viewers today with one thing to do, what would it be? Ooh, you stumped me. There's so many thoughts I have. I know. Well, if you've got more than one, give more than one. I think I'm going to say, because this is one of my personal life rules. Yeah. And we've talked a bit about this, but I think it bears repeating because it is that important. And it's very simply, give everything a little space.
Mm.
Give everything a little space, because when we can do that, we can be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
We can take ownership. We can gently challenge ourselves to rethink maybe what we're so quick to think.
Right.
We can give ourselves room to be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And we can even, I think most importantly, give ourselves the appreciation that we need to recognize, I got this.
Right.
I can do this.
Right.
And so if you give yourself space, I mean, it could be as simple as before you walk into a meeting, take 3 minutes, at your desk and just breathe.
Mm-hmm. My favorite.
Breathe, just breathe. Before you jump out of the car to go head into the day, take a second. Do I have everything? How do I want to walk into this building today?
Right.
What is the first feeling I want to have when I walk in the door?
Right.
It takes, once you make a practice of it, it takes seconds,
right.
Really, truly out of your day. But, before you head into any situation, give yourself some space. And I think all those qualities that I talked about roll up to, in my belief, a sense of personal accountability.
Yes.
Is being responsible and owning and feeling good about yourself, what you bring to life,
mm-hmm.
and the impact that you have on others. Because I always believe that every day, every moment, life calls you. Yeah. And it's up to you to decide how you will respond.
Yes.
So answer well.
Oh, that just gave me chills. I love it. Yeah. Because it's true. I think we give our power away so
Mm-hmm.
often and often unknowingly, or, not really on purpose. It's habit probably.
Yeah.
So to take that back, to empower yourself and to say, I'm going to pause, even if it's for a millisecond, and, recenter myself and then move on with my day. And I'm going to make a practice of doing that repeatedly. Because
and I mean, we can't always do it.
Right.
If you have a 2.5-year-old running around, with scissors, it's not the time to pause. You got to run, right? You got to go do it. But even in that moment, when you choose to respond to your fear or your reaction, that just, if you can, pause.
Yes.
Pause. And at first it's very stop go when you start trying to do that. You're like, wait, I don't know if I'm coming or going. But once you make a practice of it, it becomes second nature.
It does. Yes.
Just breathe and say, what do I want?
Yeah. Well, and I love the word you used too with the 2-year-old and the scissors. It's how do I want to respond? It's not what's my gut reaction? How am I just gonna shoot out of the gate and go?
Go get them scissors. Right. Okay, get them quick. But then when you're done, give yourself a second to pause and go, okay,
all right.
How do I want to respond to this? And even if it's something that happens later after the fact, stop and think, what was this about? What did I learn about myself? How can I change or shift or be better the next time around?
Right.
So give everything some space if you can.
I love that. Oh, that's so empowering. So empowering. And I think when you do that too, and you tune into what's the authentic piece, what's the real piece, how do I want to feel, that idea of, kind of like coming full circle to the beginning of our conversation of feeling confident in your own skin, that's the natural segue then. That there's
if you understand one of my most favorite thoughts that I had one day randomly, I really don't know where this little gem came from, but I was sitting in somewhere and I remember thinking, who doesn't trust the woman who trusts herself?
Oh, yes.
And you could put man in there or whatever you want, but when you trust yourself and others know that you trust yourself,
right,
they in turn trust you.
Right.
And trust is foundational for every relationship that we have in this life.
Yes.
Most importantly, the one we have with ourselves.
Yeah.
You can trust yourself. You can do anything possible if you trust yourself. How do you cultivate that? You don't make it your first time doing something when it really counts. You practice every day. You try every day. You get uncomfortable. You give yourself space. It's all connected.
Yeah.
You cultivate that trust in yourself and you say, you know what? All right, might be a challenge, but I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. One of my favorite things I post on social media is sometimes I get in the mood and I just go, all right, Tuesday, let's dance.
Let's dance. I love that. I'm just that for you.
Right? Like, let's boogie, because I know you're gonna come at me high, low, left, right, up, down, every which way.
Right.
Let's do it. I got this. I'm ready to practice. And, you know, someone said too, what was it? You never win or lose. You either you win or you learn.
Yeah.
So just learn. Keep learning. Keep trusting.
Yeah. And it's like a muscle, right? I mean, the more you work it, the more you practice it, the more you exercise it, the easier that trust is for little things, for big things. But to your point, if the only time you're kind of leaning on that or leaning into that trust is when it's these, you know, monumental occasions, that makes it really hard for yourself, unnecessarily so.
Very few of us will wake up at the age of 35 and go, I've never run a day in my life, but today I'm going to go run that marathon.
I'm in.
Yeah, right. Let's do it. I got my number. Let's go. Ooh, buddy. Slow it down. Have you ever done a 5K? Hold on. Backtrack. Have you run half a mile?
Let's start with around the block.
You know, yeah. So, you know, make it a practice. Don't wait until it really, truly matters to try.
Yeah.
You know? So,
yes.
That's what I say.
I love it so much. Andrea, you are amazing.
I love this conversation. You're incredible. You've been a huge inspiration to me. I think the work that you do is so fundamental to who we are. You know, and I think we can spend our entire lives wondering that one thing.
Yeah.
Who am I and why the hell am I here?
Right.
And you can find that, you know, and it will change. It will shift in your life. Why you're here and who you are will change. But if you can find that at various stages of life and shift your thinking and focus on you and do your best, then I think you've done what you're here to do. And I think you guides people in that. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to have with you. Because you're pretty kick butt. You're pretty kick butt. I love it.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing. Thank you so much. What is on the horizon for you? What's next?
Oh my stars. Well, lots of fun things. I continue to work at my program that teaches people how to make their own videos.
Yes.
I found that is a key piece for so many business folks like myself, especially women who, you know, we got to get our voices out there and we're not quite sure how to do it. And we don't have thousands and thousands of dollars to make videos. So how do you do it on your own? So that program is going really well. I'm continuing to build that. I think the next thing for me is to, I focus a lot on business results. Mm-hmm. So what is it that, when I first started my business, I thought, okay, I just want to make the world feel good. I just want to be happy. And I just want to, you know, let's all find our inner voice. And it was very sort of metaphysical and fun. And it didn't focus too much on business results. And then I shifted midway through and really focused on the business. And I think what's exciting now is I feel this shift coming around to say, let's do both. Let's get those results that we need, because without success and progress, we start to lose faith. You know, we start to feel like maybe what am I actually doing here? But we have to bring our whole selves into the picture. And so I'm starting to bring myself into my business, my brand a bit more, and being a little more upfront and honest about here's what I'm struggling with. Here's what I'm challenged by. And so I'm trying to bring that out into the open and have a larger conversation like the one we're having, which is about you can still be productive and you can still have the results that you need, but bring you into it even more. You know, let's be happy in the process, because if all we're doing at the end of the day is getting business results, I mean, okay. You know, that's fine. But what about the rest of us? You know? So that's kind of where things are headed for me. And it feels awesome because it's fun and I'm all about the fun. So yeah,
and it makes it sustainable too, right? Like you can have those business results that are obviously important to any business, big or small. And if at the same time you're bringing your whole self into it, one, who doesn't want to be a part of that? So then all of a sudden you've got so many people who want to be in some way connected. Yeah.
And I think the thing too is for me, I'm no longer afraid to talk about that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be very afraid to be like, let's talk about ourselves and business results. And people would look at me and go, no, just show me how to do this.
Right.
And now I'm like, no, we got to bring the whole thing into the picture. And I'm more comfortable with it. So
good.
Trust that, things go forward.
Oh,
It's
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Where can people learn more about you?
Well, you can find me primarily on my website at andreaholland.net.
Perfect.
That's my website. You can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn a lot as well. Just
Okay.
Andrea Y, the letter Y, Holland.
Okay.
If you're kind to me, one day I'll explain what the Y is for. It's not Yoda, I promise. Find me on social, find me on my website. And if you're in the upstate New York area, maybe you'll catch me at an upcoming conference or event. That's where I'm based out of, but I love working with clients all over the globe. So come find me. Let's have a conversation.
Yes, I would love that. Yeah. Friends, I will post all of Andrea's Find Me Here details in the description below. And if you enjoyed this, if you found it helpful, please like the video. And I would love to have you subscribe. I'm working on building a community of amazing women like Andrea, like you watching. So we would love to have you in this space. And Andrea, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. This was such a powerful conversation. I feel how I always feel after I talk with you, but so lit up and just like I can tell my story and take on the world. So I hope that that translates to others too, because that is so empowering and such, I think, a key component to feeling authentic and confident in our own skin. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.